Aloha and welcome to This Week in Travel History. This is episode 3. I am your host, John DeLeva, and every week we'll be looking at profound moments within amazing journeys taken by interesting people. Today, as my guests, I have a young couple who pretty much dove around the world. And behind me is a map that shows just about everywhere they went. We'll get back to that in a little bit, but for now, I'd like to introduce Gabby and Luke.
Hi, John. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, John. Yeah, it's nice to see you.
Thanks a lot for being here. Now, I don't want to undersell your trip as just diving around the world. You did scuba dive 267 times, but you did a lot more than that too. Can you tell me a few of the bigger highlights within the 2 years?
How much time do you have?
Let's keep it to a minute. Good to hear that you have so many though.
There were so many. Just dive-wise, we dove with about 20 nurse sharks in Australia, no cage. That was incredible. Angkor Wat was amazing. We got lost on an island for the day, which was scary and fun. The Taj Mahal. What were some of your favorites?
We got to do hot air balloon rides, horseback riding on the beach. It was an incredible journey.
Right on. Well, in a couple minutes, we're going to get to a little bit of slideshow that I've put together from the array of pictures that you sent me. Definitely a little travel envy here after seeing all that. But this show focuses on that profound moment. And within the course of your 730 days of adventure, there was one moment that you told me that really stood out. And it wasn't necessarily a happy time, but it was profound. And I'd like for you to tell me a little about Luke's sickness and recovery in Cambodia and Vietnam. And it was on this week in February of 2017, right?
Not the happiest of Valentine's Day, but definitely a blessing in the long run. So the way we set up our visas is we did 1 month in each country, and we were just nearing the end of our stay in Cambodia. And when you do a land crossing, you need to sign up for your visa ahead of time. So we just picked an arbitrary date, the 15th, and that was when we were going to make our way to Vietnam. About 3 days before that, Luke started getting really sick, and we thought, well, we don't want to go to the hospital in Cambodia. We'll just wait to get to an international hospital in Vietnam.
So kind of gutted it out for a few days in rural Cambodia, and then we took a bus.
In a hut.
In a little hut, yeah. It was, rustic conditions. And then we took a bus into Vietnam so we could go to a hospital in Ho Chi Minh City.
On the way in, we had to cross the border. I had to carry all our bags. Luke was so sick, he's sweating. We had to pass a medical test, just tried to play it off that he was hungover. It was so stressful.
And so after about 16 hours, we made it to the hospital. I ended up in the hospital for about 10 days. And unfortunately, this occurred over their Tet holiday or New Year, which almost entirely shuts down the city for about a week.
Everything.
So we were able to kind of limp into the hospital, and then we kind of fought through the hospital to get the treatment needed. A couple surgeries later, we were discharged and released back into Vietnam.
What actually were you dealing with? I heard you lost a few body parts.
Yeah, he did. He left something in Vietnam.
Yeah, I left my gallbladder in Vietnam. So I had an initial surgery to clear out some ducts, essentially, and then a few days later, I had a second surgery to remove my gallbladder. They upon admitting it into the hospital, they asked if we wanted to go back to the United States, and while we had travel insurance, we didn't have actual insurance. So I was like, no, this needs to happen here in Vietnam. But they took care of us and everything worked out okay.
Thought there might have been a third surgery because in the first surgery, something broke and we were assured that it would be fine and go away on its own. But obviously being there and scared, we just had no idea how that was going to turn out. But he's here and he's healthy and
wonderful. Well, okay. I guess, and there's always the upside to the downside, and that was you had to then go and try to gain those 25 pounds back, and you hung at a villa on a beach in Vietnam for a while. So that all sounds like kind of made
it. There was a lot of banh mi, John.
Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna go to a slideshow here that with some of what you gave me, and I'd love you to just say a little bit about each picture as I work my way through here. I've kind of set it up. I've taken 7 dive shots since that was about half your trip, and then 7 random shots that you don't know which ones I picked. Before we do that, though, we haven't even said cheers yet. So happy Valentine's and nice.
Happy
Hey, happy
Valentine's.
Valentine's.
Cheers.
So please just tell me a tiny bit about each of these pictures.
So this was on the Great Barrier Reef. Luke did a lot of work while we were there. And so I volunteered on a liveaboard just as dive crew. And so this was one of the dives out there on the reef.
Fantastic. Again, just here.
Komodo. That was Komodo.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, oh my goodness, the diving was just incredible there. There was amazing life. We saw so many mantas there, but the main difference between anywhere else that we dove in the world so far was the coral. I've just never seen as many vibrant colors.
Fabulous. Got plenty of
That's
Honu
you.
Is
turtles here.
that me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me spying on a turtle. I think this was on the very southern or northern tip of Sulawesi. They had some of the largest green sea turtles we'd ever seen there.
Beautiful. And I don't know if you noticed, but I did wear a turtle shirt for you today. So little Honu aloha. Another amazing turtle shot here.
This was a turtle on a shipwreck. You can see that the base underneath him is metal. And so that was a shipwreck in Australia that it was just incredible. It was how long?
Like a
300-foot long ship. And there was rays and sharks and turtles and giant groupers. And that was one of our all-time best dives.
Wow. Just some great shots here. And then if you look real close, I think I'm seeing a seahorse.
This is a pygmy seahorse. Yeah, this was in the Philippines, one of our favorite dive sites. And this little seahorse is about the size of a pinky nail. It's just a tiny, fascinating little creature.
Am I using your photos? Did you have a guide take them, or was that the two of you taking these shots?
Dive, they are following us on the dive. Yep.
Okay. Right on.
I wish I was that good of a photographer.
Here we go.
This was a crazy drift dive. This was also near the islands of Komodo in Indonesia.
Okay.
And to stop and look at anything, you were just whizzing by everything. It was really fun.
Wow. And what do we have here? Sorry, I jumped a little too quickly on that one, but this is stunning.
That's a ghost pipefish. And they can be all different colors, but they blend in with the seaweed and with the textures of their bodies. They're so hard to find. We did a dive near Sulawesi that was basically just micro muck diving. No coral, no rocks, no life, no nothing. And it's just looking for these just little tiny frogfish, ribbon eels, and that was one of those just amazing creatures.
Fabulous. Who do we have in this shot now?
That's Wally. This is also a shot from the liveaboard that I did in the Great Barrier Reef. And he is just as big as a person and obviously so friendly. He comes back to the same site and says hi to the divers all the time.
Love it. All right, we're gonna quickly jump around the world here. I've taken a few of the many, and if you just give me a little bit on each of these. So half your time it seemed like was underwater and half was amazing land excursions.
This was Thailand, and such a blessing of a day. We found this wildlife reservation where they were rescuing elephants that used to be used to be elephant rides. And we were the only people there, and it was just the 3 of us. My best friend had flown out to Thailand to spend the month with us. And we just got to play in the river with this elephant, feed her, wash her all day. It was incredible. So much fun.
Aha. And then I think India was ahead.
Yeah.
This was our 200-hour Yoga Alliance instructor course. Now, we picked this small school. This was the leader and his wife. And we showed up to learn how to teach yoga, having never really done any yoga. So they were incredibly patient with us and gracious and taught us quite a few things about yoga.
Now, you're a pretty vivacious couple. I find it hard to believe one thing I heard, that you actually went a certain period of time here without ever talking. did that happen? Did you have like that silent week or two, or?
We did not
No,
do
we're
that.
talkers, John.
Yeah, we're talkers.
Okay, I get it. You were supposed to be quiet, but
Yeah, exactly.
all right, here we go. Back of your heads. What are we looking at? I thought this was stunning.
It's the most incredible view. That was also one of the bordering islands in between Bali and Komodo. And the boat took us to that bay that you see on the right, and it was a hike up to this mountain. And there were tourists there, but not too many. And it was just so peaceful, so beautiful. Our boats were the only ones there, and just nothing for as far as you can see. It was stunning.
Wonderful. Now we're a little change of setting here. Gotta love the glacier lake color there.
Yeah, this is one of our first stops, actually. This is the South Island of New Zealand. And this is a glacial lake. All of the runoff from the glacier causes this glacial flower, they call it, and it makes these lakes almost like a Gatorade blue.
Wow.
It looks artificial. It really is kind of stunning and almost bizarre when you first see it, but that is a natural color, and that's not photoshopped. It really
At
is
all.
that bright.
Yeah. And this was,
Stunning.
we had two vehicles that we lived in on the trip, one in Australia and the other in New Zealand. So all the New Zealand pictures and Australia is us living out of our vans.
And other times, as I see here now, I think we jump back to India. Your mode of transportation was the camel. I love this shot.
Much less comfortable than the van. But this was near the border of Pakistan and India. And we took these camels out into the desert, riding for a few hours. I think there was just a handful of us and our two guides. They made us dinner over a campfire in the middle of the sand dunes. We slept out on the dunes, no tent, just little cots and a blanket. We were woken up by wild dogs in the middle of the night, and I thought I was going to die. But
Yep.
it was just the bluest sky, so many stars. It was amazing.
Originally, you were going to be gone a year, but you worked on the trip to allow yourselves to go for another year, right?
Too bad there's not sound on this one.
Oh,
Yes, we did. We worked, I did some diving on the Great Barrier Reef, scuba diving work, and then Luke just did a lot of kind of odd jobs just to keep us both employed and stretch out the trip as long as we could. So yeah, we bought ourselves about another year.
and this, are we back down like in Queenstown, New Zealand, or?
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Fantastic. I think I got one more here. I just thought it was amazing. I see you sent me a picture of your first shot, first day, last shot, last day. Other than maybe a little more hair, the smiles are just as big. What changed? What changed? I'm going to go back to our screens here for a second, but tell me how did travel change the two of you? Two solid
So
years.
many ways personally. I think the biggest change is the fact that that first picture is us knowing each other for about 8 months. And then the last picture is us coming home engaged. And it was just incredible to get to know each other on, that level and travel and see all these amazing places and come home starting our lives together.
So I got to say, I do know a number of couples who left on trips early in their dating. Half made it, half didn't. You two did. Do you have an interesting engagement story? Did Luke, did you put you on the spot here for a sec? Did you build up to this one, or how did it all happen?
Yeah, I mean, I'd known for a long time that I was going to marry Gabby, and knew I would ask her on this trip, but was looking for the right time and the best place. And we were doing so many incredible things. It almost seemed like the next one would be the best one. So I put it off a little longer than I needed to. But we were on a safari in Kenya, and we were at the banks of the Mara River, which was just the perfect place. I was like, this is it. This is the place. This is when it's going to happen. So I walked Gabby over to a riverbank. There were giraffes and zebra in the background, some hippos in the banks below. And I was like, all right, this is it.
He's trying to be so sweet and romantic in the moment.
John, yeah, I'm trying to be sweet. And Gabby says, wow, look at those hippos. I said, I know, right? She said, just imagine all the poop in that river. And it just killed the vibe.
Moment.
So we kind of went back and we ate a little bit of lunch, and I walked her over, not to the river this time, but just over to over one of the grasslands, and asked her to marry me. And it was an incredible moment that I was able to salvage after the hippo shot.
Well, congrats on every part of this, from both planning, taking, extending the trip, and then to you personally. I know COVID has delayed your actual wedding, but its day will come. Let me ask you though, today you're in Minnesota. Your trip kind of ended where you decided to leave Africa and fly to Minneapolis. Now, of course, there's family there. It was a Christmas surprise.
It was, and it was also 100-degree swing from leaving the airport in Kenya to landing in winter in Minnesota. What had happened is we had generally had about $1,000 left for travel. And so it was either reach one more country, which would have been Egypt, or Christmas time, go home and surprise the family for Christmas. And we just couldn't have thought of a better way to end the whole trip with a surprise like that. And it worked out so perfectly. We only told one person about us returning, and the family all on their own decided to do not a panic room,
An
escape room
Ah,
the night we got back. And so we had gotten in touch with the escape room ahead of time, told them about our plans. They snuck us in. And so we popped into the end of their escape room, and they just had no idea. It couldn't have been a better surprise.
love it. That's fabulous. All right, I got to ask you one final question here. So, how did everything you do in those 730 days of adventure, how does it affect your everyday life now? Can you say one or two nuggets that you can take from that trip that you applied to your everyday life now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first one is, we saw so many different walks of life, so many different places, and met so many different people. And I think one thing we always went back to is no matter where we were, it seemed like people were inherently good. People wanted to help us. People wanted us to share in their culture and have a good time. No matter where we went, I couldn't pick one place that was the kindest, because really everywhere we went, people were incredibly generous. And then to that effect, the second thing would be to not take some things for granted. It's really easy to do in our lives these days, and I think COVID even in the last year has shown us not to take closeness with each other, for granted. But that was one thing we learned is to not take anything for granted that we enjoy in our lives.
Wonderful. Well, I hate to bring up that 100-degree difference again that you guys just measured. I see it's going to be minus 20 in Minnesota tonight, and it's 80 here in Maui now. But that's another thing. I want to say cheers again to both of you. Thank you so much for talking about this. A lot of fun. We'll keep talking offline too. But I greatly appreciate you being on This Week in Travel History. And just a quick plug for the next episode. We'll be talking to an expert on Hawaiian travel and Captain Cook. And it will be the anniversary of the first time Hawaii was added to world maps. So it's John DeLeva signing off with Luke and Gabby. Have a great rest of the week.
Thank you, John.